Hello, hello, and welcome back to Shelf Talks, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of female founders bringing their product based businesses to retail shelves. I'm joined today by Tina Chamoun, the founder of Terranean Spices, Spreads, and Snacks. Tina launched Terranean in 2019 and has since grown the brand into retail locations across the country, bringing authentic Lebanese flavors to mainstream shelves. What makes her story really stand out is how she scaled with intention, sourcing ingredients directly from Lebanon, leading a zero waste production mission, and really building an all woman production team in Cleveland, Ohio, just a couple hours away from me. I'm happy to have her here and, of course, learn her journey. So, welcome, Tina.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining, especially during the busy holiday season. But I'm really excited to hear your story. So let's just dive in. So, can you talk a little bit about what was life like before starting or even thinking about starting Terranean Spices?
Okay, so I'm actually an attorney by background. I did bankruptcy law, both sides of it. I'll be on the U.S. Trustee's office where people would apply and be like, oh, no, they have a boat. They have a boat. They're not getting this bankruptcy approved. But then I also worked on the other side of it where, I would help petitioners file for that. And I did that for years probably after law school, but then I began transitioning back to food because our family has been in the food industry, and I worked with a group of retail restaurants, et cetera, for about 5-6 years before going to law school and during it. And then I just, would go back to Lebanon every summer and really reconnect with my community there through the food. And so I knew that was something I always wanted to go back to. So I was working on my Your Lebanon platform simultaneously and then switched to doing that full time before I started doing Terranean.
So, you thought about law in conjunction with food, but really taking that law career, what made you, because I know law school is pretty lengthy and you spend a lot of your life dedicated to that. What was the switch that really had you turn from law into something so different?
So I was doing the law work and my Your Lebanon platform simultaneously. And I just began getting a lot of partnerships on the Your Lebanon platform. I began working with different brands, and I realized that it was something that I could do while simultaneously having children and raising my family. I began to start having kids very soon after passing the bar and after I began working. And a lot of my peers that were still working as attorneys, they didn't get married or have kids till much later on in life. And I right away kind of jumped into that. That's just the time frame that I was in, and working 60 plus hours, 50 plus hours, 40 plus hours as an attorney, plus having children, plus doing the Your Lebanon platform. I just began to slowly transition away from law and start doing it more part-time and taking the skills that I learned, the writing, the speaking, the debating, the pitching, all those different skills I developed through law school. And so I was able to still apply a lot that I learned and my experiences into my work through Your Lebanon and launching my business.
Yeah. So, what did people say when you said, you know what, I'm going to turn away from law school and really focus on expanding into my Lebanon?
They said, good for you. It's great that you'll be able to work for yourself on your own schedule and still make money and still do something that you're passionate about. And for me, it was a lot about really having a positive impact on other Middle Easterners and presenting our culture in a positive aspect. And that's something I've always been passionate about. And to be able to do it more full time and really dedicate my time on there and still raise a family and still make money while doing it, it was just something that I felt it just went full circle for me.
Yeah. And when did you decide to get into an actual product?
So actually in 2019, so I started Your Lebanon in 2015. So we came up on 10 years. So that was great. Then
Congratulations.
thank you. So
Yeah.
2019 is when I began considering the za'atar products because I came back from Lebanon and I was at Yard House restaurant. It's like a
Hmm.
national restaurant, and they were using za'atar. And I said, whoa, okay, how do they even know what this is? I mean, this is something we put in our suitcases and bring back with us. Like no one could find it here because real za'atar only grows in the Levantine region where I'm from, including Lebanon. And so people, you talk to any Middle Easterners listening right now, they're going to tell you, they'll bring it back from back home. They'll bring it in their suitcase. Forget my shoes, forget my purse. I don't need anything. I need my za'atar. I need my kilos of za'atar. That's what I need. But then I realized that, I'm like, oh, Yard House is using it. And, I went online and there's all these trending articles, Food Network, Alton Brown, all these writers are starting to use it. Google search, 300% increase on za'atar. So customers are looking for it. They're beginning to get interest in it. And I went around to all my local grocery stores. No one carried it here in Ohio. And then I went around to even the Middle Eastern stores. I saw what the Arabic stores carried, and it was all bulk product of za'atar that had fillers and wheat and chickpeas and other non-traditional ingredients. So for me, I'm like, you know what? This is something customers want. Even when I post on Your Lebanon about za'atar, that was the one thing that I always got the most response most traction, most feedback. So just having all this data and understanding people are looking for it, and I want to make it readily available to people. That's when I began doing my company. It was Terranean Herbs and Spices. And so we transitioned from that because very soon into it, I began realizing customers didn't really know how to enjoy it. So I began doing pita chips from the bread at the bakery. And that was a way for customers to try it. And I'm like, you know what? I could make this an actual product. And so from there, I went from doing just the spice and the spreads, because we also have an olive oil za'atar spread, to doing the pita chips. And I quickly realized that customers were buying them weekly, and it became 75% of our business.
Wow.
So we transitioned from being Terranean herbs and spices to, as you mentioned, Terranean spices, spreads, and snacks to encompass this little category of our business that became pretty much the majority of what we're doing now.
Yeah. So pita chips was kind of the connection to something that, Americans already identified with to then leaning
Yes.
into the Lebanese culture of the za'atar.
Yep.
So from an initial perspective, were you just selling it online, selling it on your website?
Yeah, so I started in December 2019 online, open to family and friends, and I went more public in January of 2020. Remember January 2020? COVID? So I began.
Perfect
I love
timing.
this out.
Perfect
I
timing,
laugh
Tina.
about it. I'm like going to grocery stores, like, hey, you want my za'atar? You want my sumac? They're like, you're what? Do you have flour? Do you have toilet paper? I'm like, no. But it was a great time to like be online because everyone was online looking for ingredients, looking for food products. And so I was able to really focus not only online though, people were buying online because, they're at home.
Right.
They want to try different flavors or sick of cooking the same different type of food. So after we focused a bit more online, I began approaching more local grocery stores. And then I started slow by looking for the stores where I could visit myself and do demos and drop off product, and just check out it myself to see how it's going. And then from there, I then took the information of how it was going in those local stores and began going to bigger stores.
Okay, so you already from the initial onset thought I want to be in retail stores. And why was that?
Well, I wanted to increase representation of authentic Lebanese, Middle Eastern products on these shelves. You have entire sections of international food, entire sections of Hispanic, entire sections of different kinds of cultures. And, people want to try our food. They want to enjoy Middle Eastern, Mediterranean food. So I wanted to make sure that we were offering products that were authentic to what we enjoy, what I share with my children, with my family, and really having that representation in these grocery stores.
Yeah. So initially when you were selling online because it was COVID and everything, what was initial feedback and how were you actually gaining customers?
Yeah. So the initial feedback was people really loved it because, again, you couldn't really find this type of product unless you went back home. And during COVID, no one was traveling. So a lot of my customers were actually first or second generation Middle Eastern like me who were like, well, I can't go this year. Where am I going to get my za'atar stash? I got you. I'll get your za'atar stash. So that's a lot of the first initial customers were people that were already familiar with the product. And then it was also people that were interested in trying it for the first time. And we looked kind of legitimate. I put the website together myself, but I had the photos, I had the packaging done myself, I got it all ready. And then I began actually pulling it. So this is where I have a little bit of advantage. I began pushing it through Your Lebanon. And so through that platform, I already had a network of food bloggers and chef friends and people that I've been friends with since they first began their blogs. So I told them, hey, you guys, I'm doing this. Can I send you some product? Do you mind trying it? And they just on their own, because they're good people, posted about it.
Yeah.
Like Summer Hamayat, Summer's Kitchen, I don't know if you're familiar, and then Connie, and there's just so many awesome ones I could shout out here, but they would literally just post my product to be nice, and they had huge followings. And so that gave me a little bit of a boost. It made my account look more legit because I started getting followers. And, people, when they look online at products, you look at the website, you look at reviews, you look at the social media followings, just to see, their credible business. And I kind of was able to gain some traction early on because I had that little boost of credibility.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And it's amazing that, when you were building your Lebanon, I would imagine you didn't think that a product was going to come out of this.
No.
But that helped you, like all of that and the connections, you know what I mean, helped in kind of getting you to a faster level when it comes to creating a product. So it's pretty amazing because there's a connection there that you didn't even know was going to happen.
Never.
That's amazing. So how did you get into those retail stores and what was your first one?
So, you're going to laugh at me. Like now thinking back, talking about this, it was like 5 years ago. Like I kind of laughed at myself. I just showed up like, hey, what's up? I'm Tina. I'm local here. I have za'atar. You know what I mean? I see you sell olive oil. They go really great together. It was actually a local market called the Olive Scene. They had a few locations and they sell olive oil. I'm like, this is perfect. People love za'atar and olive oil. Like it'll be a nice little tapenade type dip for people to enjoy. So I went in there. They're like, yeah, sure. She's local. She's nice. let's give her a, let's be nice and give her a try. So I began dropping product off to them every few weeks and keeping track of it myself and seeing how product is moving. And before I really knew anything about demos, anything about sales, anything about, I just did marketing naturally. Like I would just tell people, hey, it's at the Olive Scene, go grab it. And then there was Chupa's Market, another one, which was a standalone, like family owned local market where I did do demos for the first time. And that was where I realized like, oh, I got to be doing pita chips because I'm sitting here doing pita chips with the za'atar for demos for them to try the za'atar. Why don't I just do pita chips? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I began just by talking. I went in there. I had no sell sheet. I had no sales deck. We're online and we're doing some movement online. So I did have some data. I did take my online sales, my online movement, and use that to back up that like people are buying our product. And it isn't just people buying it, it's repeat customers.
Yeah.
That's the major thing. You don't want someone to buy your product one time and then never buy it again. Like you want to have a product that's first of all, it has to look good. So they're attracted to seeing the product and wanting to buy it. And then you have to have it taste good and be good quality consistently so they come back and buy it. You know what I mean? Because that's how you're going to really grow your business, by making sure that the product not only, is one that people want to buy one time, but repeatedly. I made sure I had that data to show to another retailer, which was then my biggest retailer here locally in Cleveland. It was called Heinen's. They have 19 plus locations here, 23, I want to say 22, 23, because they also have in Chicago. But they were my first more chain type retailer to pick up my product, I would say in 2021.
You started in retail?
December online.
2020.
Few retail stores.
And then what made you decide after being in those couple of retail stores locally that then you wanted to grow to a bigger grocery chain like Heinen's?
It was actually the launch of the pita chips. I realized that more customers wanted the pita chips, and the Olive Scene was more of a olive oil dip type. Za'atar was a good fit for there, and then I had chupas, but it was just people began asking about the product. And I began realizing that, we might have something here where more customers might enjoy it. So let me go ahead and reach out to Heiden's and see if they'd be interested in it. And actually at the time, when I reached out to them, I went there to present the spreads and the seasonings. I had the pita chips, the packaging wasn't done. The nutritional label wasn't finished yet. I just had it there. And the snack buyer was like, oh, these are phenomenal. Come back when you have everything ready. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm excited about it. And then a few months later in the summertime, I got the packaging, nutritional label done. I emailed him and he didn't answer. This was back in August. I'm like, oh, maybe he was just being nice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe he didn't really like him that much. But then I'm like, you know what? In September, I emailed him again. Like I followed up. I was persistent. I wasn't like, oh, he said no, that's the end of the day. No. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to email him back because he really liked those. He's like, I never got your first email. We had a firewall up. I never knew you reached out to me. I'm so glad you followed up again. But we're going into Q4. It's kind of hard for me to bring on a product. I'm like, oh, I understand. Here's a video of me on my local news channel talking about the za'atar if you want to watch and learn more about it. I sent it to him. He responded to me like laughing because the host on the show told me that my za'atar looked like something that you would smoke. And apparently the buyer liked that. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Let's get on a call. Let's get you in here. And so they brought me in during Q4 holiday rush.
Wow.
And that was my first bigger retailer.
When they didn't even typically bring something in at that time.
Mm-mm.
I think that's a lesson too, because buyers are ridiculously busy, lots of emails coming through. And just because you email once with no response, it could mean that they're on vacation. It could mean that they're backed up on the email. They have other priorities that are happening. And the opportunity to continue to follow up can really lead to something like you just demonstrated.
Right. And I've had that. I mean, after that first experience, I'm like, you know what? That's just something you have to do in this business. Those buyers are busy. Like imagine how many emails and samples and products they're getting. And if they showed initial interest, they'll tell you up front, hey, this is not for us. Like they're really nice.
Yeah.
They're considerate. They'll straight up tell you like, hey, not right now, follow up in a year. Or they won't even tell you when. You got to ask them.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I understand. Let me follow up in a year from now. But otherwise, if they showed initial interest, I keep following up right now.
Yeah.
And I noticed it's been important because if you don't follow up, you're never going to get the chance to really get in front of them and have them consider your product.
Yeah. What I love too is, and something that you noted and definitely sparks my interest as a buyer, is you get the generic emails that are like, hey, my product, here's the sales sheet. But when it's something different, like you sending the video or giving information that's typically not, sent through email, that makes you a differentiator. It makes you stand out. And it makes you, a buyer at least want to watch the video or think differently about that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's like something I try to be very authentic in my emails. I am not a serious person. I am not like an ex McKinsey analyst that saw data and you know what I mean. I'm a mom to 3 kids. That's very passionate about what I'm doing and getting our really good products in people's hands.
Yeah.
So I guess just being authentic and true to yourself in the emails too really helps. I think.
Yeah. So were you then entered into all 19 of their locations?
Yeah, so they started me off in all the stores, but I was delivering, right? So this is yeah, we're getting more ridiculous here, but at this time I am 6 or 7 months pregnant with our third child,
Wow.
and I mean you're starting off in retail, you don't have distribution, like you're distributing the product. So I'm like waddling around like this, my big belly with the chips on top of my belly, dropping them off to all the stores for a few months, and then after we had good movement there and we had traction in early, so that was I want to say that was that 2020 or 2020, I don't remember, but anyway a few months later, I asked my buyer, I'm like, hey, is like after I had the baby and I couldn't distribute anymore, I'm like, hey, is there a distributor you can recommend to us? Like, are we doing well enough for that? He's like, you know what? Yeah, you are. Here's our local distributor. So that's how we got into our first local distributor because now we had our anchor store already. We had Heinen's that carried our product and our product was moving well there for them. And so I began with Midland, a local distributor, and then they began presenting me and helping me present to more of the stores that they already serviced. So from there, I just started branching out like naturally because now there were other stores that they worked with that they wanted us to get into and we were able to get picked up from.
Yeah. So when you say you were moving well in Heinen's, what do you think was the catalyst for that? What were some things that you were doing that were helping customers know your brand was there?
Actually, the first few months, the first year, even before I had a distributor, we had no demos because again, I didn't really know, we didn't know demos. Like it was just the product was out there, but I did it at an EDLP. I had an everyday low price. I went in there with the best price I could offer because I was a new brand. I did not want to be more expensive than the other pita chips on the market. I wanted my product to be attractive because it was new, because it was local, but also because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
And this is not something that might work with everyone, but it worked for me because in the beginning, I just made sure we had enough of a margin, but I was able to sustain delivering it myself and getting the word out there. And it was kind of like a very good entry level pricing for the product. And that got people to buy it because it was a very competitive pricing and it was new. Something we did simultaneously with that is a lot of marketing. So social media marketing, I would do targeted ads on social media. So I'd find, you know what, Lakewood or these are just like local cities, I'll find cities and areas where Heinen's are located and I'd target the ads like, oh, we're now available in Heinen's. You can find them near the deli or find them wherever. And then I'd also try and do like I mentioned, New Day Cleveland. It's a local news channel here, likes to support small businesses. I try to go on there and talk about the product and just outside, not only like online marketing, but also other types of marketing that I did in addition to the EDLP. And this was before the distributor. Once I got picked up by a distributor, I then, like for that next year, I raised the prices. And the prices it was raised to wasn't too crazy, but it was enough to cover the distributor. It was enough to now build in a TPR and different types of sales and promotions through my distributor. So that first year starting though, I gave that lower price and that really got people to try the product. And after that, it was like, oh, it's like a little bit cents more. It's a little bit more. I still like it. I'm still going to buy it. But then we still had the promotions. We do 8 promotions a year. 1 week each. Or right now, if there are retailers that prefer 2-week promotions, I'll do them 4 times a year. That way we still fit in 8 weeks and they could be anything from X amount off or, buy 2 for this, just a different variety to encourage those shoppers that usually look for the yellow or the red tags
Yeah.
to buy promotional products. Because once I get them to try my product, there's a good chance they're going to come back and buy that over the next one. And I don't want to sound like, oh, I have the best product. No, but it's good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I don't want to. It's a good product. It's
Yeah.
different.
You need to
So
get people to try it and then they'll come back.
once I try them. And now at this time we do demos. So ever since, the past couple of years, I make sure I do demos because it's just about getting the product in front of them. It's about teaching the customer that we're here because otherwise when you go into the grocery store, people have their list. They
Mm-hmm.
know what they're looking for. And you want to be able to grab their attention like, hey, look, I'm on the shelf. I'm a new product. Here it is. Come and
Right.
grab it.
Yeah.
Try it. And usually when someone's in the store, they can get their attention and get them to try it.
Yeah. So how often do you do demos?
Weekly. I have a gal that does them every week. So, but not in the same stores. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at Heinen's, for example, we have Heinen's, Meyer, Market District, Giant Eagle, Lucky's, Dave's, all these local stores here and Fresh Time that we do demos with. And I make sure that every week I have a girl out there doing demos. As we continue to grow and as I try and find more demo people I can trust out of state, I'd like to do more out of state demos. But right now we're primarily in Michigan and Ohio doing those.
Okay. I love that strategy of going in at the everyday low price. and using that as really a driver of trial. And then to your point, having opportunity to raise it periodically after you've garnered that consumer and they've already become a loyal customer, and you're able to help manage the margins through your
Yeah.
expansion. So how
Yep.
were you building inventory? How were you making sure you were able to support the inventory as you were expanding into so many different retail chains?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was doing my product myself, I was making it myself, and then I brought someone else on, and then eventually once we got to over 100 stores, 150 stores, we began working with a co-packer. But the co-packer is my family bakery. So I popped my head up in there. I'm like, oh, when I do the za'atar and the pita chips, okay, Tina, you like a little pat on the shoulder, pat. And I like, oh, another one of Tina's crazy ideas. Okay, yeah, you know what? Give me a couple of years because now I have my own 4,000 square foot warehouse connected to the main bakery with my own dedicated team. And that's where we have all the inventory, all the ingredients. And the way we anticipate inventory is by looking at our movement in our current stores in specific sectors. For example, mass movement in our mass stores are different than movement in our specialty stores or our, one-off gourmet specialty boutique shops. In those stores, you could be moving 8 to 9 to 12 units per store per week per SKU, depending on the flavor. In the mass stores, you might move a few bags per SKU. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the kind of retailer we have coming up and I try to anticipate what type of movement it will match. So I know what kind of inventory I need to have on hand to, for X amount of months with the retailer. And I usually buy enough inventory for 3 months. So we have 3 months worth of za'atar, 3 months worth of bags, 3 months worth of jars. And that's, I think, been working very well for us. And
Yeah.
we're smaller scale. So yeah, that's what's working.
Yeah. And then the za'atar you get from Lebanon. How do you do that?
Well, we used to bring it ourselves in big cargo containers. And I go back to Lebanon every summer. So I meet with my producers there. I see everybody there. And we get not just the za'atar, but also the sea salt. The sea salt is hand harvested from the silas dating back before Christ, BC, very old, back Phoenicia, by the Roman walls, etc. So we bring the sea salt from there from villagers. It's a co-op opportunity to keep them employed, keep villagers employed. But yeah, so we bring the sea salt and the za'atar. And we bring it a couple times a year. And we bring it either ourselves on the cargo ship,
Yeah.
or now we have one of our distributors that brings it as well. Because I have to make sure I have multiple options, multiple sources. I never want to run out of anything. So for everything I have multiple people who can do my bag, multiple people who can do my za'atar, multiple people who can, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So just to keep, especially after COVID. After COVID, I'm like,
Yeah.
This
will never happen again.
No, I was in the labor and delivery room with our third child sourcing jars. I'm like, oh my God,
Oh
the
my-
baby's coming. Give me this jar. Yeah. After that, you're like, okay, you gotta be prepared.
So what's something that, once your product was actually on the retail shelves that you recognized was like oh my God, I had no idea.
I guess just like everything involved in this. I mean, as I mentioned, like I did not start this with a background in CPG, in products, or any experience or any network. Like, I'm in Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like New York or California
Yeah.
or Miami where you have all these major networks and people that you could, that you see doing this type of thing. And so I just didn't realize the extent and the amount of types of things involved. Basically, all the different hats I would have to wear. And I'm fortunate that, growing up, I've held multiple kinds of jobs. I always worked. I worked through high school. I worked through college. I worked through law school. I was a bank teller. I was a senior sales rep. I was this, I was that. And I think all those different experiences helped me really be able to start and run my own business and wear all the different hats.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, again, I just I didn't think I'd be doing pitch decks. You know what I mean? Like that never occurred to me. I'm just making pita chips and selling them. You know what I mean? But now it's like I'm doing all these different things that I never originally anticipated, but it's been great.
Yeah. Speaking of pitch decks, how did you even know that a pitch deck was something you needed to do when you started to go into bigger retailers?
Okay. So I know. In the beginning I told you I didn't have one. Don't worry, I have one now, and I have a sales team now. But it was actually something that after a year doing this, I'm like, you know what? There's got to be someone out here in Cleveland that supports groups like this. That there's have to be like a networking group. There has to be something here. So I began asking around and I began trying to find groups that support small businesses that have any experience in CPG. And I found one called Jumpstart. And they did a pitch competition called the Cleveland Chain Reaction. And it was like a 5 or 6 week course session where people submitted and they selected maybe 20 of us, small businesses, to do this pitch competition. But through that process, they taught us how to do the pitch. And they're like, here's a sales deck. Here's your pitch. Here's what you need in it. Here's what you have to explain to your buyer and why and how you're different and, what void you're filling, all those different aspects that we're familiar with that I had never really known about. And I ended up winning that pitch competition, which was great and gave me the momentum to just keep going forward with that.
Wow, from going from not even knowing that what a pitch deck was, you actually won?
Is that law? To be fair, I had that law background. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I have experience writing and I adapt quickly and I listen when I don't. Listen, if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to listen. I have no problem telling people, I don't know what that is.
yeah.
Teach me. You know what I mean? So I adapt very, very well, I guess.
So what are the main things that you think are the most important things when it comes to pitching?
Your data, get your numbers in there. Something I just past couple of years where I'm like, oh no, it's moving. No, no, no. Have your numbers. I mean, I don't pay for any type of data right now. There are some platforms out there, businesses that will provide that type of data where you pay subscription fee for that. But I get it from my buyers. I ask them, hey, how's it going? Can I please have my movement so I can see where I can best support you in your stores? You know what I mean? Like, please send me quarterly, etc. So I have my info for my movement. So the data is important because it shows, like specifically for us, for retailers, it shows that you're not just a great product. There's plenty of great products out there, but it shows that people are buying your product repeatedly,
Yeah,
that you have repeat buyers. So you've been in the same stores for 4 or 5 years. No one's dropped me. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff.
yeah,
So the data's really important. Also, you're a little bit about you and your personal story. When I mentioned you, it's that when a buyer or a merchant or a store works with your brand, they're working with you. They have to be able to trust that you can deliver on what you're promising and that they're not going to have any issues down the line. So I include it myself, my background, my experiences, my family. I always incorporate my family. Because at the end of the day, I'm very passionate about what I do and it's something that I want to make sure my kids see and learn from. So I incorporate, again, about myself, the data, and then, of course, the products and their differentiators. How are you different? So you said 3 things. And there's like a million things I want to give you, but I'm going to stop at 3. Why are you different? Why is
yeah,
your product different? And in the beginning, I would never list competitors on my deck. I'm like, oh, God, that's so petty. I don't want to call anybody out. Everybody's doing their own thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. What they're doing is what they're doing. But then a lot of people are like, no, like, we have to see that. We have to understand why we should pick your product over the other one. It's not about being petty. It's not about being, inconsiderate. It's just what the business is.
yeah,
So I began then incorporating like, okay, we're different than these other brands because we're twice baked, we're not fried. We use functional, healthy, intentional seasonings. We are going to have a little special change coming up that I can't mention now, but there's different reasons why your product, we're kosher, we're halal, and non-GMO. And then, of course, we have the woman-owned team. We're a woman-owned product, but we're mission-led. We're a mission-led brand. So I make sure I incorporate that as well. Because for me, that's a huge part of all this. We are not only growing a brand here, but we're growing a team. We're supporting single moms, refugees, immigrants, people who rely on this business to have work. And so I have a different level of pressure. I don't have investor pressure. I don't have a co-founder pressure. I have the pressure of supporting my team and them supporting their families. And so being a mission-led business, that's something that is really important to us and also something I consider a differentiator. And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, we have our upcycling policies, our zero waste policies. I hate waste. I grew up in a household where you better clean your plate because people back home don't have anything, and where we find ways to repurpose food and upcycle, etc. So that's another thing I consider a big differentiator for us. That's also incorporated in the mission-led part of our business, which is one of the main things I think people should incorporate into their decks.
yeah. And that shows how you're different on shelf and how you're going to be incremental value. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the upcycling? How do you do that? What is that? And has that been something that's been part of your mission from the beginning?
Yes, so that actually was the beginning. So I mentioned that I would begin using pita bread that the bakery wasn't using to introduce customers to my za'atar. So we have a family bakery here in Cleveland, Ohio called Jasmine Bakery, and they do pita bread. But if the pita bread's not perfect, they're not using it. For example, if it's too dark in one spot or too puffy or too flat and didn't rise properly, or there's just different aspects of it that they just couldn't use it in their bags. Where in the beginning, it wasn't that much of a problem because, they were smaller, but then they began to grow and they began to grow simultaneously while I was growing my business. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that pita bread off your hands. I'll buy that pita bread from you. I'll use it for my pita chips. And so I began upcycling their pita bread because customers don't care what it looks like when it's baked. When it's baked, it doesn't make a difference. Baking it and pulling out the moisture and making it more simultaneous in color. Plus, when you add the seasonings, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Long as it's safe and consistent and good quality and freshly made, which it was, it's all good. Why are we
Yeah.
wasting it? And so I began by upcycling that pita bread and utilizing that for our pita chips. And now I'm even still doing that for food service and restaurants. We use a thin, delicate pita bread. You had a chance to try it with the sea salt pita
Yeah.
chips. It's twice baked, not fried. It's real pita bread. It's not like a flat cracker. And so what's unique about that, yay, thank you. You have to try those ones. Come on.
Yeah, I
Oh my
know.
God, I'll
I
get
do.
to those in
I
a
do.
second. I'm so excited for you to try it. But the sea salt ones you need to try. This is a way for customers to really get familiar with the pita bread. But it's thinner and more delicate. So when we make our batches, and they're all handmade batches, right? It goes in the tumbler, it tosses. You're going to have some fragile, crummy pieces in there that you can't use in the pita production. We don't waste that. We begin using that for restaurant partners for salad toppings. So with Aladdin's Eatery here, with the Cleveland Guardians, with Danny Boy's Pizza, with different businesses who want to do the salads with the Mediterranean-inspired seasonings,
Yeah.
we sell them our pita chip
Smart.
crumbs and bits. And then there's even another level of that, the tiny bits at the very bottom. We work with a local it's like a co-op, employee co-op owned business in Cleveland that takes our bits and composts it to soil for the local community. So nothing wasted, absolutely nothing. There's no need to waste. There's ways to make purpose out of everything you're making, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how we started, and we're still doing it.
I love that. I love that. And then what made you decide that you wanted all women to be on your team?
I think a couple aspects of that. I think the first one was just being able to provide work to other women who reminded me of my mom. So my parents came here during the Civil War. They immigrated here. My mom did not go to high school. She went to a lamp factory, L-A-M-P, a lamp factory in Cleveland, Ohio, where she worked throughout high school to help support her family who moved here. And I see that in my employees. They all come here. They might not have that formal education. They might not speak English. They usually don't speak English, actually. But they come and they learn it with us because I come in there and I'm yelling all kinds of stuff, English and Arabic. But it's a way to, I see my family, my mom, my aunts who moved here, and I see the same thing happening to other people that come here and they want a better life. And I want to be able to provide them with work and let them feel like they're a beneficial part of the society here.
Yeah.
So they say, you were doing za'atar. Who are we doing za'atar for? Why are we doing za'atar pita chips? And I'm like, for the American consumers, for the retailers, for the community here. And they feel a sense of pride and a sense of belonging that they're doing something that people here are enjoying, even when they came here for whatever reason. So that's why it's really important to me. And also being a mom myself, being able to have a job that's flexible, we're very flexible with our schedules. You can come in, you drop your kid off at school, you come, you got to go before they leave. I got you. Don't worry about it. You got to go out and leave. You got to do this. You got to go help with your granddaughter because your daughter's sick. Fine, we got you. Like, we're very flexible with that. And it's something that I think is important as a mom who is self-employed. So I want to be able to have that type of lifestyle for all my employees.
Yeah, that's great. So what's next for Terranean Spices? What do you see on your vision board for 2026? What's some goals that you have?
So some goals we have is to continue expanding the product line. So we currently have the sea salt, the za'atar, the spicy za'atar, and the cinnamon sugar. But I also want to bring in a vegan cheesy herb, which we're working on. And that's just staying consistent with my seasonings all being vegan and my products being all dairy-free. Our whole facility is dairy-free, but just having that extra option, because I like to say that I have something for everyone, meaning I have a flavor everyone can enjoy. You want the sea salt? Go for it. You want a party in your mouth? Go for the za'atar. Sweet? We have the cinnamon sugar. And then I think expanding to we'll be using nutritional yeast for the vegan cheesy herb. And that, again, is another functional seasoning because all my seasonings are functional. They have health benefits. The cinnamon sugar actually has date powder and maple powder, which are very healthy. And of course, I have 1 gram of cane sugar, just one. Look at my competitors, a lot more than that. But I have to. It's called cinnamon sugar. It's called cinnamon sugar, right? So I have to have some sugar in there. It's not called cinnamon date powder. So just expanding the product line, getting into more retailers would be great. I really want to focus on, I have a couple of meetings lined up, which I'm excited about. I don't want to say anything about it right now, but I have a couple lined up for next year that I'm excited about. And again, continuing to grow this business and continuing to grow my team here. I just want to keep making work, keep providing opportunities for people, and keep increasing representation of our products and making them more readily accessible to consumers who want to really enjoy these authentic flavors.
Yeah. When you talked about flavors and adding a new SKU to your assortment, number one, did you start with the number that you have today? And how do you know when it's ready to add another SKU?
Yeah, so I started with just the za'atar pita chips and the spicy. So I had those 2 flavors. And then after a while, I'm like, you know what? People really like the pita bread. There's some customers that might not like the za'atar. It's a strong flavor. It might be an acquired taste. I'm not sure. Someone even told me it tastes like dill. I'm like, no, it doesn't, but it does to you, and it might to someone else. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? We're in enough stores now. We see movement. If we increase our product offerings, it's an opportunity to increase our shelf space, our shelf presence. Having one product versus having 4 or 3 flavors lined up. It looks good when they're all lined up together. And it's a way to offer something for everyone. So we did the sea salt in part because I wanted to have that simple pita chip people can enjoy with hummus or other ways, but also because I have a condition called POTS syndrome, and it requires me to have 5,000 mg of salt a day. So I have to have a very much higher salt intake than the average consumer. So for me, salty food, I'm all about it. I need salt on this, salt on that. So for me, it was a little bit selfish motivation there as well.
Right.
So that's how we moved on doing the sea salt. And the cinnamon sugar customers start asking me about that. They're like, "Can you do a cinnamon sugar?" I'm like, "I don't eat cinnamon sugar. I don't even know what, like, I don't even know where to begin. Like cinnamon sugar to me was like cinnamon toast crunch. You know what I mean? Like I don't really, I wasn't that familiar with the flavor, but then I just began doing multiple test batches and test batch and test batch and recipe and recipe. And I began asking food groups in Cleveland. So I'm like, "Hey, anyone want to try this? Who likes cinnamon? Who's a cinnamon sugar fanatic? I want you to try my product." And I began getting their feedback and just kept improving the recipe. And that way we had a sweet chip that we did. And the last one just kind of fits. And looking at other bigger brands at what kind of products they do, they all have a cheesy, a Parmesan this, a garlic that. So they all have a different cheesy variety. And we've gotten quite a few requests for that. So that's why we decided to expand onto that next stuff, which won't be ready for a bit here, but we're getting to it.
Any of the sales of the added SKUs surprised you?
Yes, I want to say the first most important thing is that when you're looking at your sales after you add a new SKU, is it cannibalizing your other SKUs? You have to make sure that your other products are not now suffering because of the new one. And I'm very happy to say they did not, which means that people that originally did not want my za'atar now wanted the sea salt. I did exactly what I wanted to do. It brought in new buyers to that category for that product who originally would not have shopped there or purchased it. So that was one of the surprising things for me. But then the sea salt, this has become, in a lot of our stores, these are head to head. And I was not expecting that because there's a lot of sea salt pita chips out there already. You know what I mean? What was unique about this one was that there's nobody else doing za'atar, right? So I just didn't expect this one to take off. But now in a lot of my stores, when I look at the data, this is moving just as well as that one. But then when I see how other pita chip, bigger national brand, don't want to mention it, this is doing better than that national brand sea salt in some of my specialty shops. And so for me, that was the most surprising thing because I was not expecting it. I didn't go in there like, I never went into this business like, oh, I want to outbeat bigger competitors. I want to complement. I want to complement the shelf. I want to bring new customers who originally would never have purchased other products to buy mine. You can keep your customers if you want. They might try mine and then transition. Not my fault. Right. That's not my goal. I'm here to offer something different. So that's what surprised me. And then the cinnamon sugar, when I do demos so you haven't tried this one yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I'm going to try it.
So I really hope you like it. So what's been surprising about this one is that so many people actually end up having this as the favorite. And that was not what I was expecting. But this one does not move as much. And I think it's because it's newer. Also, it's a sweet pita chip. But that's why demos are so important. Because once people try it during the demo, these always outsell the other pita chips. On the shelf by itself, It doesn't. But when I do demos, it typically outsells it. And I think it's because customers don't feel bad about, again, it's only 1 gram of actual cane sugar, and they feel good about having the date powder and maple powder. So I think it's also something where when you look at your movement and you look at your packaging, it's where I'm doing a bit of a brand refresh. Just some things have to be refreshed because we are making some changes. I want to work on fixing this packaging. So it looks good, but obviously there's something there that I need to do to get customers to want to buy it without me having to be there for a demo. Because they're doing it for the sea salt and the za'atar. Why are they not? Why do I not have the equal amount of sales with cinnamon sugar as I do with the other products?
Yeah.
And I think it's because I have to work on my packaging a little bit to make it a little more attractive on shelf. It looks good, but I think it could be better. There's always room for improvement, and that's where I'm going to work on.
Yeah. Have you gotten any feedback from customers on that? Or is that hard for them to kind of actually articulate what that is that's not making them not pick this versus the other?
I don't know because I'm not usually in the store to see it happening live.
Yeah.
But when we do the demo, they always grab the cinnamon sugar. Like I look at our demo sales movement and man, like you're moving through all these the other ones move as well. But cinnamon sugar, it does so strongly during demos compared to on the shelf that there's something there. There's something there. And what is it? And I think what it is getting people to buy it based off of the look of it.
Yeah.
So I got to do something, convey something on the packaging, either explain, have it stand out, only 1 gram cane sugar, whatever it is that, help it articulate a little better.
Yeah. And then you mentioned a bit about expanding into other retailers. I saw you had the Walmart open call.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that and how you got that opportunity?
Sure. I think you may be familiar with this. There's a platform called Range Me.
Mm-hmm.
So Walmart does open call in Bentonville, Arkansas once a year. And it's where they invite different applicants that they select to come down, and it has to all be USA made. And that's the big thing, USA made. And that's something that really I was really excited about because I have other competitors that are not USA made. And I'm like, you know what?
Mm.
We're USA made. Get us in there. We'll come down for our meeting. But they also have something called the Road to Open Call. And so they stopped in a few different cities. I think maybe 5 or 6, I'm not sure how many, but they stopped in a few different cities where you could apply to meet in person to get a Fast Pass Blue ticket. And so I applied
Oh.
to meet with them in Columbus, Ohio back in the spring. And during our meeting, they told me, like, you're accepted. Here's your Fast Pass, your Blue ticket to go directly. Like, you just skip the entire application process. Like, this is the one that gave you the Fast Pass to actually go ahead and be there for your meeting. Like that, I secured my meeting back in the springtime. So that's something that like other people flew in from out of town. They flew from out of state to go to. I'm like, I drove down 2 hours, y'all. I'm so lucky. So we went to that and it was great. And then from there, we went to our actual meeting in Bentonville. So the first day was, they did lectures and speaking and informative meetings and just really exciting type of event stuff for the first day. The second day was the actual meetings. And our meeting was super early in the morning. And we met with who I wanted to meet with, which was Deli. Because my product, I believe, should be near the dips because it's a great way to upsell both the hummus or the lebne or the baba or whatever it is they have in the deli area, guacamole with the pita chips. People just buy it together usually. But we also like to be cross merchandise and specialty cracker. So I met with the deli buyers, but my actual buyer ended up going on paternity leave 2 days before because his wife had a baby. And so he wasn't there. He had his deli category manager, like the head guy, the director, came to my meeting. And I'm like, oh my God, the director isn't here. I didn't know that at the time, but after he introduced himself, and then another buyer was with him, another merchant was with him. So I had 2 people. And so during that meeting, like in the beginning, I'm talking about the product and you know, like, oh, and this and that, my story and whatever. And then once I finally had them try the product, their eyes just like, oh, after they tried it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, you have to try it. Because I can tell you how different it is a million times. But once you try it, you'll notice how it's different. And so after that, they were listening,
Yeah,
like really
connected.
focusing. After they tried the products, saw the information I had about it. And there's something that Walmart does right now. It's like, I don't know if you saw this campaign, but it's like, who knew? Oh, you could find this at Walmart. Who knew? And for me, this is a big one. Like for me to push this product to Walmart, it's like, who knew you could find authentic Zata pita chips at Walmart? Who knew? It's like more of a gourmet type product, but they're increasing their offerings. They want to have something for all the demographics of customers that they currently have. And there's a lot of Middle Easterners, a lot of Hispanic, a lot of ethnic customers that shop at Walmart.
Yes.
My team, it was big for me because all my employees shop at Walmart. I have the Walmart app. Walmart is such a big opportunity because so many people from different demographics shop there. And the pricing is accessible. It's accessible pricing due to their margins, due to their efficiencies they have built in. And my whole thing is accessibility. I want people to be able to access our products and be able to enjoy them. And so for me, that was huge. But I had a great meeting with them. They took all the samples back. The director recommended me to his manager, buyer. And so I go back January 20th.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Fingers crossed. I'd be happy just to even get into one of their DCs and just do a test run there if they want me to. I'd be more than happy to get the product in front of customers. Again, it's different than what they currently have on shelves.
Yeah.
It's unique. And we're just think it's a great opportunity. And a lot of people, you know, they might think like, oh, you know, are you ready for Walmart? Are you ready? I'm like, well, that's what they're giving us a second meeting for. I have to have my capabilities ready, my growth plan ready. I'm going to show how we're able to really
able to
handle
scale.
this type of customer.
Yeah. That's great. That's so exciting. And also, definitely a note to always have your product so that people can sample it and really understand what you're articulating, actually really connecting with it by tasting it or trialing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You have a food product. That's the first. Now for my next meeting. Hi, my name is Tina. Try my product while I'm speaking. Like, I'm not going to wait until halfway in the meeting. We're going to try it right away.
So, where can our customers follow, support, and most importantly, buy Terranean?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have our store locator on our website, terraneanherbs.com, and that'll tell you, you know, the stores closest to you because we're in a lot of specialty shops, Fresh Time. We do have some product and home goods, so you can look there as well while it lasts. So go out there and grab it. And then also online and on Amazon, our social handles are Terranean Herbs, TERRANEANHERBS. Very long name, but we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. Yeah, thank you. That'd be amazing. I mean, we're just here to grow and hopefully, you know, provide a product that customers enjoy.
Yeah. Well, love your story. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing it. And look forward to trying the
Roberta.
balance of your flavors. And of course, for our listeners to hear your story, but also go out and buy and support.
Appreciate you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.